Sometimes you play this game day after day and feel like there is not a rank up in sight. No matter what videos you watch, how much you play, or your general attitude, you simply feel hard stuck. There is no worse feeling in Overwatch than feeling like you can't improve for long periods of time. The truth is, every player will reach these plateaus, and if you simply autopilot improvement, you'll stay at your rank forever. That's okay because GameLeap has you covered with the top 10 tips for overcoming plateaus and breaking through hard stuck. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Now, the first thing that we need to define is what it means to be hard stuck. In reality, in my opinion, no one is truly hard stuck. The idea behind a hard stuck is that you're stuck at a specific rank that no matter how much you try, how much you practice or train, you'll never ever get out of it. As a coach, I simply fundamentally disagree with this concept. In my opinion, while it might be difficult to do, no one is ever truly hard stuck, and if you're willing to put in the time, effort, and these 10 things, there's no way that you'll be unable to rank up past the rank you're currently in. This is why it's in your best interest to watch this list to the end and make sure that you try every single thing on this list if you're having trouble ranking up. I promise you that if you apply every single thing on this list, you will break out of being hard stuck and you will climb tons of SR. Now, the first thing that you need to stop doing in order to stop being quote unquote hard stuck is to stop autopiloting. I know it's so easy to simply load up Overwatch and play in the exact same way that you're always playing. The important thing to understand here is every game shouldn't be to win, every game should be to learn. What are you doing right and wrong? What repeat mistakes do you constantly make that are getting you killed or preventing you from getting the impact that you need? Autopiloting can become really easy for those who just log on to Overwatch, play a couple of games, and go to bed. Or simply play when they're not actively ready to focus and take the game seriously. If you're serious about ranking up, then you need to be treating each and every game seriously as well, because that's the only way that you'll actually learn how to get out of the rank you're currently in. Now, the only other guaranteed way to get you out of the rank you're currently in is coming to GameLeap.com. We have the best high-quality guides that can systematically make you a better player from the ground up, so you become that self-actualized GM player and you can pop off in every single match, hard-carrying even the worst of teammates. We're the only Overwatch source that will have in-depth psychology guides that help you get into the mindset of a GM player, so come check us out, and I hope to see you there. Now, moving on to tip number 2. This is a big one that I see in tons of different players, and this is not specializing. This is players playing too many different heroes or too many different roles altogether. Specializing is greatly important to maximize improvement and maximize time. If you're playing a little bit on tank, a little bit on support, and a little bit on DPS, you're not maximizing your time improving the specific role that you want to play. If you play 10, 20 heroes, it makes it that much harder to maximize every single interaction on the hero that you want to master. Try to narrow yourself to a specific role and try to minimize to 1 through 4 heroes if possible. The more you specialize, the more interactions you'll come across and the faster you'll learn overall. If you want to get past the plateau and develop yourself as a player for the long term, improving at a snail's pace won't get you there, and that's what happens if you do not specialize. Now, moving on to tip number 3, this is not consistently playing. What I mean by this is if you play once a week or once every couple of days with giant amounts of breaks in between, not even touching the game, honestly, you'll never ever improve. This is due to rust forming. You know that feeling that you don't play Overwatch for a couple of days and it takes you forever to get back to the same skill that you currently were at the beginning? That's rust, and it will continue to build up if you don't consistently play every single day. I know what you're saying. I don't have enough time to play consistently. You need to try to find a way to play every single day, even for a little bit of time. If that's not something you can manage, then you need to understand that it's going to be extremely hard for you to improve. True improvement only happens when you're not rusty at all and you're playing at your maximum output consistently. Keep this in mind for those who really want to improve. Now, moving on to number 4, this is not learning from mistakes. Now, this one might seem kind of obvious, but what's not obvious is how you can actually evaluate your mistakes. What you need to do is create a system where you write down how you die in every single situation. If you're dying as part of your whole team in a lost fight, that's 100% fine. What doesn't work is getting picked off first. You can mark that down as a positioning mistake. If you try to execute a sound play that doesn't work out, maybe your mechanics need work, and you can mark a tick down in the mechanics section. Maybe you died due to an interaction you didn't quite understand. Mark it down in a game sense related mistake section. That way, you can identify exactly what the biggest aspect of mistakes that you're making and try to form a game plan around them. Identifying each and every mistake and systematically erasing your mistakes over time is the best way to become a consistently good player and climb. The best plays aren't defined by their giant 5-man blades or huge plays that they make. They're defined by each and every moment and the lack of mistakes they make at each and every interval of their game. Systematically erasing your mistakes can help you become a better player overall and really push you through that hard stuck mentality. Now, before we move on to tip number 5, let me give you tip 4.5 that could definitely gain you an instant 1000 SR. All you got to do is smash that like button. That's right, go ahead and smash that like button, and tomorrow morning you'll wake up and you'll be 1000 SR higher. Don't believe me? Go ahead and try it. Now, moving on to number 5, this is not practicing mechanical skill. Now, mechanical skill can be practiced in a number of ways, but the best 2 ways are simply playing ranked with mechanical practice in mind, or playing things like Triad Free-For-All where you hyper-focus specific aspects of dueling and 1v1s. Now, while a lot of mechanical practice simply comes from specializing like I talked about before, something really big that people don't seem to do is they don't practice specific things on their hero that they don't get to practice throughout the whole game. Specifically, ultimates are a really big thing. Practicing specific things like Tracer Pulse Bomb, hitting anti-nades, or dragging blading against bots on Genji can be things that practice that specific mechanical skill. Every single extra hour you put into practicing something that someone else at your rank isn't, you're going to be that much better than them and you're going to climb again and again. Now, moving on to number 6, this is a poor gaming setup. Having 60 Hz monitor or playing on a laptop, playing with a terrible mouse and keyboard, or a poor setup altogether. Having a poor gaming setup can definitely inversely affect your skill. While it doesn't make or break a good player or a bad player, it can definitely make it a lot harder to play consistent hours and feel comfortable grinding out the game over and over again. When I was first starting Overwatch, I was on a laptop that I got maybe 40 FPS on, and every time I Dragon Bladed on Genji, the whole game would freeze up and I wouldn't even know what to do. Definitely take a look at your hardware because that's your tools and building blocks to produce your performance. Now, moving on to number 7, this is VOD reviewing, self-VODs, or coach VODs. This plays hand in hand to the learning from mistakes aspect. Try and go and look back in your own VODs. If there was a close game, really analyze what you could have been doing better in order to have more impact in each and every game you play. This is even easier now with the replay feature. And on top of that, if you can't find the insight that you want, there are tons of coaches out there that you can reach out to and get an in-depth VOD review on. They can point out tips, tricks, and mistakes specified to your gameplay that can really help you improve at an astronomical level. Now, passing on to number 8, this is a big mistake that I see tons of players make, and it's misevaluating their own weakness. I've done VOD reviews time and time again on somebody that completely misevaluates the weakness they have, and it's because they're not writing down their mistakes or they have incorrect notions about the game in general. I honestly VOD reviewed a Plat McCree that had incredible aim, but in his mind, it was his aim that was holding him back at his rank. He would practice against bots or go an aim trainer for 5-6 hours a day, trying to get his aim to that masterful level, while at the same time, he's consistently in bad positioning, taking poor flanks, or misunderstanding many of the interactions in the game. Essentially, his ideas and misconceptions about his weakness is that his aim is bad, but it's really something else. Often you need an outside source or really to think critically about your mistakes in order to identify what your actual weakness is. Now, moving on to number 9, you need to try to separate your mindset from your rank. Ultimately, rank doesn't matter. If you don't believe me, ask anybody. And honestly, most of the time they won't care about your rank. A big problem that a lot of people embrace is they get far too emotional with their SR. This causes tilt, lack of focus, and inability to think critically and analytically about their own play. What should matter here the most is improvement. If you get to that GM level skill, it doesn't matter what account you play on, you'll easily climb to GM. That's what it means to be a true GM level skilled player. You can climb back there whenever you grind it and put your mind to it. It's not about your current SR, it's about the skills and things you learn to get to that SR. Moving on to the last tip that we have, number 10. This is complaining about the game versus embracing the game. You have to embrace a competitor's mentality. Sometimes you're playing in the meta and you think Orisa is awful to play. I don't like Sigma, I don't like Doom, I don't like Reaper. I don't want to play any of those heroes. I'm going to do whatever I want. I hate this game. Some of these might be valid criticism, but if you want to truly rank up and be the best player you possibly can be, you need to embrace this competitor's mentality. I'm going to find a way to go with the grain and with the meta and play in a way that is better than my competitors. While I might be playing the same heroes as them, I'm going to do something to set myself apart from them, make less mistakes than them, and be a better overall competitor. Or you say, I'm going to play against the grain and I'm going to do something that specifically targets a weakness in what the meta is bringing to the table or a weakness in my opposition's play. While you could constantly complain about the state of the game, ultimately, if you want to be the best you possibly can, you need to embrace it at each and every turn. The game is going to be constantly different with new patches, new hero changes, and new maps, but that doesn't mean you can embrace the game fundamentally and still strive to be the best competitor you possibly can be. Now, before we go, I actually have an 11th tip that will help you master all these things and really push you along to become that top 500 hard carry as quickly as possible. GameLeap.com is the best place to find guides that will help you break through being hard stuck, because we have coaches who have helped tons of people surpass their limits, and we can help you as well. We got in-depth guides, advanced concepts, and VOD reviews to put you in the mindset of a top 500 player so you can identify where your strengths and weaknesses are and maximize them as quickly as possible. Don't take my word for it, we offer a 10-day money-back guarantee, so you can come check us out risk-free in the links here. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. I hope this guide has been extremely helpful for you. Any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time.